Ulothrix, systematic position, kingdom, plenty, subkingdom, Thelophyta, phylum, Chlorophyta, class, Chlorophyceae, order, Ulothrix, suborder, Ulothricinae, family, Ulothrixaceae, genus, Ulothrix. Habitat. It is commonly found in cold and clean water of ponds, slow-moving streams, and in waterfalls. In juvenile stage, it remains attached to the substratum, but later on, it floats on the water surface. Structure of plant body. Ulothrix is a green thread-like unbranched filamentous alga. Each filament is made up of various cells arranged in a line. The basal cell is elongated and colorless. It is known as holdfast and remains attached to the substratum. The uppermost cell is known as the apical cell and is rounded. The other cells of filament are alike in structure and shape. Structure of plant body. The length of these cells is less than width. These are cylindrical. The cell wall consists of two layers. In the center of the cell is found a nucleus, and a girdle-shaped or ring-shaped chloroplast lies in the cytoplasm. One or more pyrenoids are present in the chloroplast. A vacuole is present in the cytoplasm. Reproduction. Ulothrix reproduces by three methods. Vegetative reproduction. In this process, a filament divides into a small portion or segments. This process is known as fragmentation. These small fragments grow and give rise to the new filament of Ulothrix. Asexual reproduction. This takes place by the following means. By zoospores. Zoospore formation takes place in favorable conditions, except the holdfast each cell produces zoospores. The cytoplasm collects in the center and divides into 2, 4, 8, 16 or sometimes 32 segments. Each segment later on develops into biflagellate or quadriflagellate zoospores. Each zoospore is uninucleate and pear-shaped. Their cell wall is thin. If the zoospores are bigger, they are known as microzoospores and are quadriflagellate, and these are 4 or 8 in numbers. On the other hand, the smaller zoospores are termed as microzoospores. These are bi or quadriflagellate, and their number in mother cell varies from 4 to 32. Firstly, they come out into a vesicle. Later on, wall disintegrates and microzoospore and microzoospores are liberated free and float in water. The microzoospore attaches to the substratum by anterior end, whereas microzoospore attaches to the substratum by posterior end, which is narrow. After some time, zoospores give rise to new individuals. By a planospores, sometimes contents of a cell separate from the cell wall to form one or more rounded planospore instead of zoospores. Their wall is thin and they are non-ciliated. After liberation, they germinate to produce new plants. By hypnospores, in this process, under unfavorable conditions, the protoplasm is separated from cell wall and develops into a thick walled structure. The hypnospore, after a long resting period, they give rise to new individuals under favorable conditions. By akinesis, during unfavorable conditions, cells of the filament develop into thick walled structures known as akinet. Under favorable conditions, they give rise to new plants. By pulmonary stage, during shortage of water, filament lies on the moist soil. Each cell divides and redivides with the result that some small and rounded cells form a colony. The cells of the colony are surrounded by mucilaginous substance, which protects the plant alga from unfavorable conditions and does not allow it to dry. The mucilaginous substance dissolves on the onset of favorable conditions, and these cells either directly or through zoospores develop into new plants. Sexual reproduction is of isogamous type. The gametes are motile and biflagellated. Except hold fast, each cell of the filament can give rise to 64 or 128 gametes. These gametes are somewhat smaller than zoospores. Self-forming gametes are called gametangia. On dehiscence of gametangium, a thin layered bag-like structure is formed, in which gametes come out from gametangium. Later on, gametes float on water. When two gametes of positive and negative strain characteristics come together and fuse, a quadriflagellate zygospore is formed. It also floats on water. After some time, it rests on the bottom of the pond. At this time, its four flagella disintegrate and a wall is formed, surrounding it from all sides. After taking rest for a long period, it divides meiotically. It gives rise to 16 planospores or zoospores. These come out of the sac and give rise to the new plants of Ulothrix. Origination of Generation. Ulothrix shows haplodiplontic life cycle during sexual reproduction. The major phase of its life cycle is haploid. The zoospores grow into a gametophyte which produces gametes, and these stages are haploid and are the long phase of the cycle. The gametes fuse and form zygospores that are diploid. It is a short phase in the cycle. It is the alternation between haploid zoospores to gametes and diploid zygospores. Topographic representation of life cycle. This represents the methods of reproduction and also the types of various reproduction methods in Ulothrix. It undergoes vegetative reproduction or sexual reproduction and sexual reproduction.